Alright, so we've been asked about building an intake tube for the S2000 for a while. One of our past videos we talked about doing the airbox mod, which a lot of people have disbelief if it works. Well, let me give you a quick insight. If you put the car on the dyno, put the hood up just like this, put a big gigantic fan on there, anything makes power, including an open throttle body, because there is no restriction, it's straight air going in. When the power really comes into play is when you close the hood and run the car. Let's say on a track, you do some track 2 or 3 laps, everything gets hot under here. Whatever intake you use tends to get to a point where it doesn't make power, it makes less than the factory. So this is an airbox off a car. The customer did his own airbox mod. To describe basically what this consists of, one, we're going to use a K&N filter just because it fits in there. It's the high flow filter. It's got a very, very low restriction. But the plastic piece across here, we're taking that out and using some of that material to block this hole. I got this idea from one of the racers at Sebring. I actually got to talk to a couple of the engineers on the real-time racing team that were running Integra Type Rs at the time. And long story, they said they tried every airbox, every intake, every filter, every tube. They ended up using an NSX airbox, which is actually funny, it's kind of like this, and running a filter in here. They said they got the most consistent gains, the coolest IATs run after run. So I kind of took their idea and applied it to the S2000 airbox. This is just an acoustic resonator. It's to take some of the noise out of it. You got to remember, the average S2000 owner likes the sound of the intake, likes the sound of the exhaust, but Honda has to build this car. So if a 65-year-old guy walks in, takes it for a drive, he doesn't say, wow, the intake sound is too loud, I don't like it. He has to kind of compare to the rest of the lineup. So this does absolutely nothing. It's more for sound. There's no horsepower benefits. It's just to give you a bit more of an intake sound. This is also a partition over here. It runs all the way to the top. The air has to climb over here, and again, more of it is for acoustics. This essentially is giving it the biggest volume accessible for air. The K&N filter, this, they make a snorkel for here, by the way, it goes over the core support down. I've seen good results from that on the track. On the street, you're not having enough incoming air to make that much difference. So this is the 06 and up. It has the IAT sensor in here. So we're going to eliminate that. Most of the time you don't want the valve cover breathing into the intake track. And on the 06 and up, this is blocked up right here. It's still cast in there or molded in there. It's just not used. We're going to supply you with this elbow. It's going to have the connector for your filter, either an OEM or a K&N, and a connector for your valve cover. It's going to be an off-road purpose only. So you're going to have to vent that either into a catch can or put a little filter on there. For the 06 up guys, we're going to include a grommet for the IAT sensor. You do want that in the tube. 2000 to 2005, that sensor is in the intake manifold, so you're not going to have that. But the idea is we want a nice clean tube here instead of the plastic rubber one.
Alright, I've got the titanium arm all tacked up and cleaned. I'm going to go ahead and heat the areas. I like to just heat the bends and then like kind of let it flow into the straights a little bit. That's how I like the look of it.
Okay, so this is the intake arm we were talking about. It's done. We're using this car to test fit it to make sure everything fits right. Obviously we want it to flow and perform as best as possible, but of course we want it to follow the shape and fit the box and everything fit like it should. There is a silicone connector that goes right here and it helps seal this box. You see, we're just laying this here to show you how well it fits. We recommend the K&N filter, but the factory filter will fit. Like I said, the silicone connector is going to sit about here, and then obviously the silicone connector there. We're going to be including nicer clamps, the nice clamps that we use, and of course you can rotate the buckle down out of sight. This is just to hold the clamp in place, but full 3-inch, and it tapers to fit the factory filter. I'm recommending you eliminate this to put a breather on there, mainly for looks, but performance too. This does blow an oil vapor which goes into the intake. It drops your octane level. It also tends to put like a black sludge in here. So this is what the end result looks like. These are the thinner clamps that we like. These are going to come included, and then there is a clamp here, and this just is a taper fit onto your filter. Now let's go ahead and put the airbox lid back on there. And again, this does keep the intake temps down. So once everything is clean, now you just got a little bit of a cleaner elbow. It looks kind of custom, and again, it's going to be functional too. We're not going to lose any power with that. You're not going to make anything, but it certainly looks so much nicer. Check that out.